So the great thing about people like the Birdman is he makes my job so easy, because he has made such a straw man of the critical drinker, calling him a line-grifting racist chud, or Eric July an idiot poser, because obviously if you call someone that, it's implied that you're not those things. However, I don't need to imply since Birdman loves jerking himself off at the thought of pretending like he's some great agent of truth, a moral paragon of virtue and ethics, a shining light of facts and logic.
Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm really good at sussing out bullshit and putting it in a way that's easy for people to understand. You see, I have this personality quirk where I can't stand to see a lie being told or an inaccuracy being held publicly. This causes me to argue on basically any platform you can find me on. It's cathartic for me to prove someone is wrong using evidence because I cannot stand public lies where people get away with saying wrong things. When I was a child, this behavior caused my mother to always proclaim that I would grow up to be a lawyer because arguing a case is something I've been doing for over 30 years, including against her.
Which means I don't need an overbloated hit piece to show what a complete crock of shit that image is. And I have the evidence. I have the receipts. Actually, I've had the receipts for a while, and I've made a video about it. But being a small YouTuber, I can only do so much. But luckily for me, the dumbass repeated the same lie in another video.
Eric July, ostensibly a comic book entrepreneur, frames his media presence around combating the left and rejecting mainstream culture. His audience isn't paying for storytelling, they're paying to feel superior to a cultural establishment they believe has rejected them. His business model is less about art and more about cultural insurgency as product. This is the guy that blatantly lied about not liking Miles Morales because he was a token black ripoff of Peter Parker, when we have footage of him saying Miles is a good example of a non-token character taking up a mantle.
Do you like Miles Morales then?
No. Yeah, some characters have been written decently that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy. But Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
Integrity. How much do you think this blatant contradiction helped the sales of his comic book Isom?
And the sad thing is, Rippa already debunked it. He literally made a video called, "You used to like Miles Morales. Monetize your haters." That's how much of a truth seeker Birdman is. Not only did he lie, but he was so moronic he didn't do the due diligence to see that Eric July already debunked that point a while ago.
But you had this crack smoker right here who says this: Eric used to like the character, even saying he's more than just a black Peter Parker, but he changed his tune when he found out he could make money by pandering to racist comic book fans who hate Miles Morales. So the argument this person is making, again, said that, number one, I used to like the character. Number two, saying I said that he's more than just a black Peter Parker. Now, you guys understand, people have watched this is a 4-year-old video, but you guys that watch my material, you know my position has been very, very consistent on this issue. I've explained in detail what I mean by tokenism. Don't care how you define it. Don't give a crap. But I've defined it in the way that I am using it, which is really all that matters. And I've defined it precisely. It's not a catch-all term. I specifically reference in tokenization as race, gender, sexuality, swaps, etc. of pre-established characters. I've also stated many times that not all tokenization is created equal. There are different ways to do it, and there are more or less preferable ways to do it because they're not all equal.
Let's talk about something that isn't really new, but I think it requires a video because I want folks to understand where I'm coming from with this. Changing the race, ethnicity, and so forth of a pre-established character is some of the wackest shit ever, but let me explain.
Okay, so I've made my position very clear. It's some of the wackest stuff ever. I'm actually going to double down on that after I make this point about Miles Morales. So the act in itself, I consider less preferable. I do not like it. I am not fond of it, but I can look at things objectively, and I can look at things and see, considering the pool, what's more or less preferable than, let's say, for comparison's sake, something else. Okay. So you have characters that are derivatives. You have characters that are knockoffs, all of that, and I can look at them in terms of what's better and what's worse and what's far more or less preferable, even though when it comes to tokenism, the actual like act per se, I consider whack. Now we're gonna move to where this idiot got this video from and what they quoted. Now this is the part that didn't get clipped in that clip. Listen to this.
Role that is centered around a suit. As an example, you have different characters that have been Batman, and different characters have worn these suits of Batman. But we all know the Batman is white as hell, and that's Bruce Wayne. That's the iconic Batman. So if you up and depicted a black Batman, you're going to get some backlash. And yeah, some characters have been written decently that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero.
All right, so again, that is the context. I mentioned another character, not Spider-Man, and like Batman and other people having, let's say, filled his suit. Still less preferable, right? And whatnot. And what I'm going to mention here is Miles Morales, and I'm talking about, well, at minimum, it's at least decent that they didn't just take Peter Parker, the character, and let's say put him in a new universe and then just race swap him, saying that he's now Peter Parker and he's, let's say, biracial like Miles Morales did. Instead, they created another Spider-Man. It's a knockoff. It's still tokenism. And they named him Miles Morales, right? He's still Peter Darker. At no point do I say, and we're going to listen, no point do I say that I actually like the character. I'm speaking more to the fact that, well, that's far more preferable than them just taking Peter Parker and then swapping him, despite, you can make the argument that's what he is, as like they have a very similar like origin and all of that, but he's, at least his name's Miles Morales and not Peter Parker. So listen in on this.
Or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Now, most of these types of efforts are forced, corny, and lazy, but at least Miles Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
Which is, again, it's the same point that I've made a million times, which is what was weird about that fat dude grabbing this like he discovered something. Like, dude, I've made this point a million times and I still make it to this day. That's more preferable, but which also doesn't make the clip that this guy clipped. You're going to hear me say, regardless, it's still not a preferable thing. Listen.
Miles is an exception, make no mistake, and it will always be preferable to have another character with his own unique skill set, unique art, stop being lazy, and taking developed characters and making them of different descent for the sake of representation and diversity. I don't care in what timeline you make it, it'll forever be whack. And it's stupid because there's so many examples.
Like, I couldn't be any clearer than that point. And like, it's still always whack. But at least with Miles, he's not, even though I call him Peter Parker, I'm speaking more to where they copied and pasted. Yeah, but it would have been worse if they just said, hey, here's this new universe. Peter Parker's now black and Puerto Rican. That would have been a different animal, and it would have been worse. So though it's not preferable, here's what you get. It's not a new point that I've made.
Integrity.
Oh gosh. You know, I'm not much on speeches, but it's so gratifying to leave you wallowing in the mess you've made. You're screwed. Thank you. Bye.
And I'm not done with Birdman, I have much more to say, but that's for another video.
Okay, fuckity bye.